from, zooming in from Montana right now. So I kind of want Brandon and Glenn to see if they can give their own introductions. So,
hey guys, Brandon Bowe with Cooper Firearms. I'm on my 3rd year with the company now. So I work in sales. So I handle all your, a lot of your Facebook questions, Instagram questions. Anytime a question comes through the info line, I'm usually the guy that's going to respond to you. And then we got Glenn over at the shop there in Montana, and he's one of our gunsmiths. Glenn?
Yeah. Glenn disappeared for a moment, apparently, but we're hoping he can answer some of the questions on the technical stuff. One thing that's always been awesome with Cooper for us as a dealer is, there's some intricacies and details. Customers want specific things, specific calibers, specific stock configurations. Cooper's one of our line
in Montana, and he's one of our gunsmiths.
And so anyway, got a little audio issue, but Cooper's always been a company where we can facilitate that stuff. The custom orders, dealing with Brandon's always been phenomenal and super fun to put together rifles that aren't just run-of-the-mill SKUs. You can only order them a certain way.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of our bread and butter is we build very personalized product. I mean, it's one of those things, custom serial numbers, guys do that all the time. It's initials, birth dates, really anything you can think of, anything that's, relevant to the customer, we can make that happen. And then as far as guys being able to pick out their own wood, on some of the higher end wood stocked guns, that's a real popular thing is guys being able to pick out their own stock blank, different grades of wood and the options. I mean, you get onto our website and you just have an unbelievably long list of options and accessories that you can add on to, just about all of our rifles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Glenn's back.
I'm back.
Give us a little history on you.
All right. Well, I'm a gunsmith here at Cooper Firearms of Montana. This is my 9th year of employment here. I've held a variety of positions here, but I always seem to circle back to working on and putting together the rifles.
Yep.
And honestly, if someone has questions pertaining to the rifles, what are the rifles? What makes the rifles what they are? Why do the rifles cost what they do? What do we offer? Brandon's a wealth of knowledge as far as options, pricing, availability, lead times. But I can help with more of the technical stuff if people have questions like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So one thing that's, kind of where Cooper started, I mean, the wood rifles that we don't see so much anymore, a strong passion of mine. They're gorgeous, and you've got some nice ones out there for us to look at. But, industry's trending so much towards the synthetic stocks, muzzle brakes and, options as such. And you guys have obviously are doing that as well to accommodate to consumer demand in the way firearms and hunting rifles are trending.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if we wouldn't have made that transition, Glenn and I probably wouldn't be standing here talking with you guys right now. We had to adapt to the market. We love building the wood rifles. We're seeing an uptick in the wood guns right now, but those synthetics have been going really strong now, for us for probably a good 5 to 7 years, I would say, especially with our Model 92 backcountry that we released a few years ago. It's the lightest Magnum rifle that you can find on retail shelves. As far as I know, it weighs 5 pounds, 12 ounces. And it's a phenomenal piece of equipment, and it's our #1 selling rifle.
Yeah. Well, so we get a lot of questions, between the backcountry and the Timberline, what is the weight reduction? Because they're essentially the same gun, just a slim down receiver and a lighter barrel contour, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. Your stock dimensions change a little bit. You've got a little bit of a palm swell in the Timberline versus the backcountry. I would say the Timberline's a little bit more ergonomic. It's got a little bit more. There's a little bit more rifle to grab onto. Yeah, exactly. You can see the little bit of a palm swell in there. Very, very comfortable, versatile rifle to have is that Timberline. The backcountry built for a very specific purpose. It's to be as light as possible and still be extremely reliable and accurate. Really purpose built for that guy that wants to be in the backcountry, wants everything as light as possible. Sheep hunters that's every sheep hunter in America should have a Model 92 backcountry.
Yeah. Yeah. The kind of exciting news for you guys too is you just launched the 6.5 PRC.
Yeah, we did, and that's huge for us. We've been getting hounded for that for I would say probably a solid year and a half. So we're super excited to finally offer that. Everybody is really excited about that. We're excited. Our dealers are excited. I know you guys are excited.
Yeah.
Everyone's.
I've changed some of the rifles I have on order already to take advantage of that.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
And one thing we should say is now that we've had time for people to kind of check in with us, any of our Cooper inventory that's in stock, I think I've got 9 of them here right now. We're doing 10% off in stock Coopers through Monday, actually. So,
yeah, the 10th one over there is 20% off. And
maybe not.
Do you have a question that actually goes along? Peter, I'm assuming it's Peter from Archway Defense is on the line here right now. And you guys talked about trends for styles and configurations. But what about calibers? What are you seeing in the market this year?
Gosh, I mean, Jason can probably answer that question too. For us, the 300 Win Mag has been our #1 selling cartridge for. Glenn, how long would you say the 300 has been our #1 cartridge for?
Since about, I don't know, 2013, 2014.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And I think that's because when guys are spending this kind of money on a rifle, they're spending $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 on a gun. They don't want to just, I mean, I love the 6.5 Creedmoor. It's a great cartridge, but they want a little bit more. They want to be able to have a gun that they can take anywhere in North America and harvest.
They're buying the gun.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially when they own a Cooper and realize it's not the gun, they buy 2 or 3 more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I haven't met very many people that only own 1.
Yeah.
Most people own, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah. And I would say that the market for calibers is so demographic, like the Midwest here. I would say a lot of the 28 nozzlers and stuff like that, I'm shipping out west, just because people don't have the opportunity to take advantage of that cartridge's capability.
Yep.
But for us here, Minnesota, I mean, I could stock 6.5 Creedmoor and 300 Win Mag, and that would cover probably 80% of what we sell with Cooper. So,
yeah, I agree. And obviously now we're seeing this 6.5 PRC thing is really, really blown up. I mean, we've gotten more asks for that cartridge than really anything else right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Glenn, would you say is what you guys see as a whole for calibers out there is, 300 Win Mag's big, but I've always asked Brandon, what's your top sellers? What should I be stocking? And it has changed year over year with the 6.5. And do you think the 6.5 PRC might take part?
As far as short action rifles go, the Creedmoor is king. There's no doubt about it. It is handily dethroned the 308 Winchester. So as far as the short action rifles go, Creedmoor's king, no doubt about it. But as far as overall, the standard belted magnums, the 300 Winchester Magnum, the 7mm Remington Magnum, these are old standbys, they're old favorites. There's a wide variety of readily available high performance factory ammunition for them. So those are your standbys that people throwing down a lot of money. They don't want to gamble on something they're not sure about. But then you've got folks that are kind of younger and they're more up and coming. They're hitting that point in their life where they've got a little more disposable income. They want something nice. And these are the guys that are hitting up the nozzlers. These are the guys that are hitting up like the PRC, for example, which I happen to be holding right here. This is a new thing for us. It's going to be a big deal. If you want this, call Brandon.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah. Call Arnzen Arms if you want that one.
Yeah, was that a laminate sporter you were holding?
It sure was.
Yeah, and I think you got a handful of. I think I got some 7 Rem Mags of those on the way.
Yeah, and we've got a whole bunch of that gun that Glenn just held up. We've got a whole bunch of them with painted stocks on them right now, like 280 Ackley, 6.5, 284, 264 Win Mag, 7 Mag, 300 Win Mag. And these guns are ready to go today. So those guys that are drawing their tags, for their hunts this fall. I mean, we got rifles. You guys have rifles. I mean, now is a great time to buy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the Limited Sporter, I'll insert a shameless plug. The Limited Sporter is one of my favorite rifles. It's an all-weather package. It's stainless steel, laminated stock, basically indestructible, pretty all-weather. Spiral fluted bolt just to kind of jazz things up a little bit. They're already threaded for a muzzle brake or a suppressor. And the thing about it is the laminate stock is a wonderful compromise between wood and full synthetic. You get a lot of the look and feel and class of real wood, but you get most of the strength and rigidity, weather resistance of the synthetic, all the accuracy. And, we checker the laminate sporters, and that's cut by hand. Like, we treat those stocks just like we would this fancy piece of Circassian walnut. Like, we treat this the same way we would treat that laminate, except, obviously the laminate's stronger and more rigid. And if I'm not mistaken, Brandon can correct me if I'm wrong, the laminate sporter might be I think it's our least expensive centerfire model, I believe.
Yeah, no, it is. I tell everybody that looks at it, it's the most valuable rifle we build because
those corners were cut. None.
You can essentially get a custom rifle with a half-minute guarantee for 1995, sub $2,000, you're into a custom gun.
Yeah, and people don't realize the amount of felt recoil difference between a synthetic stock gun and a laminate gun.
Right.
They just absorb recoil like no other.
Yeah, they do.
So,
yep.
All right, cool. Hey, I have a question. This is I handle the marketing here at Arnzen, and I probably get more questions about test targets related to Cooper rifles than any other. Like that is like the premium piece of paper right there. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what is the testing philosophy? How does that set up? What are you actually testing and at what distances? Things like that, so people get a sense of the value of those targets.
No problem at all. So we've got our own indoor range. It's 3 lanes wide, and from the muzzle of the rifle to the target is 50 yards. Obviously we'd love to have 100, but that's a big deal, and the county has to get involved. But the 50 works pretty darn well. And basically, you've all seen the targets. You know what they look like. It's sub quarter-inch groups if you were to measure center to center. If the rifle won't do that repeatably, then we don't let it leave. And we're shooting, for the most part, hand-loaded ammunition that we take a lot of pride in. We craft it. There are some instances where we shoot some factory, but by and large, it's mostly hand loads. And, we used match bullets for a lot of years, and a lot of guys wanted us to start using hunting bullets, and we're trying to incorporate that change. We're not just going to throw a bunch of match bullets away and do that, but we're working that in. That's becoming a thing. And basically, it's not NASA mission control in there. Like, it's really not. Like, you don't have to be able to manually land the space shuttle to shoot these things accurately. It's really not. You walk in, it's a wooden bench. It's sandbags.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking some low-tech stuff. We're not talking about machine rests with no human element involved. Nothing of the sort. It's a shooter.
Yep.
And so, in any event, you walk in, you set the rifle in on the wooden bench on the sandbags, and we have an assortment of Ken Farrell Industries Picatinny rails, one for each action, and you'll put that rail on, and then we've got our big Collis scope in there that's got quick detach rings, and and we've used loopholes over the years. We had a Night Forest for a while, and now we're really liking this big Collis, and so or Kales, depending on what part of the country you're from, how you want to pronounce it. But in any event, you clamp that sucker on there wherever it fits your eye relief. And then what I do, honestly, is at that point, and I think our current shooter is doing the exact same thing, I start testing function. I'm running live ammunition through the magazine, feeding, extracting, ejection, magazine locking in firmly and releasing smoothly, all of those things. And then once I've ascertained, okay, I'm happy with how this functions. Well, now I'm gonna zero the scope, which once you get handy at it is only 1 or 2 shots. And then once I do that, again, firing all ammunition through the magazine, and once I get it sighted in, I'll commence to shooting groups. Now we have 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper that have 4 of those targets on each one, and I'll ruin one of those, sighting in. And then I'll shoot the other 3 at a minimum. And then a lot of times we'll shoot another one just like it.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that rifle, it may need some cool downs or such, but basically if it can't consistently and repeatedly perform that, then it gets kicked back out on the floor. It'll go back to whoever did the final assembly on the rifle for a little troubleshooting, a little massaging, a little love. And then basically it'll come back again. And those assemblers take pride in not having them kicked back to them. Like their names on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in any event, once we've ascertained, okay, well, this one can consistently and repeatably perform this. Well, then we look for, these pass, these meet the standard. Which one's pretty? And we're not going to lie. You're not going to get the ugliest one, but it has to be able to consistently pass.
Yeah,
then you'll get the prettiest one of the lot.
Yep.
So, are the test targets, if you look at just about any high-end rifle, and even a lot of not so high-end rifles these days, you're going to see test targets. It's becoming something of an industry standard. It is important. People do take pride of ownership in it, things of that nature. And that's how they're done.
Yeah.
If there's any other questions, they can chime in.
No, it blows me away. I mean, I know you say it's an industry standard, but there is no company out there that I get, like, if I forget that picture when I'm putting the gun up, I'm going to get like a midnight phone call about it.
Yeah.
That gun's not going out the door without it.
I mean, we get it all the time too. Like if we've got multiples of the same rifle in our inventory, guys want to start seeing test targets, and they're like, all right, which one's got the best test target? That's the one I want.
And then it's guys the best grouping closest to center.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really great. All right, cool. Hey, if you guys have questions and you want, we've got an incredible resource here today. Make sure you put them in the comments so we can get them answered.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to kind of talk about is, lead times. People, oftentimes they'll come in the summer and they're expecting this custom rifle in 2 months, and you guys have always been phenomenal in quoting an honest lead time, and what craftsmanship goes into the gun, and how long it's going to take, and you're not going to overpromise, underdeliver,
right?
So I think lead times right now, and things are changing. You guys have always been pretty consistent, but there's a big difference between the synthetic model guns and the pretty, what I call the pretty ones.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute fact, and that's because there's no efficient way to build a custom rifle. There's just no doubt about that. And as you get into, our custom classics and our Western classics, a Western classic rifle, you can wait up to 18 months for it to be built, just because there's so much work that goes into it. And there's a ton of hand fitting. And Glenn could talk about the manufacturing of a Western classic way more than I could, and why it's so time consuming.
A lot of people in today's age would consider the rifle that I'm holding something of the flagship model, the open country lightweight. But honestly, I think the Western Classic is the flagship. The Western Classic has an inordinate amount of work that goes into it. Now, that being said, a Western Classic, as regards precision, as regards accuracy, reliability, anything like that, the Western Classic, the least expensive, this laminate sporter, in the regards of accuracy, function, reliability, that kind of thing, the least expensive rifle gets treated exactly like the most expensive rifle. So you don't have to worry about that. However, the octagonal barrel, milling a gigantic barrel blank that looks like a truck axle into an octagon takes some doing.
Right.
And then it's got to be polished by hand. It takes hours of some poor sod sitting there shining those flats without rounding the edges, keeping them straight, removing the machine marks. The polishing on that barrel, the labor in that is just astronomical. Yeah. And then, you're talking about what, 7 hours? Basically a work day of an entire work day of skilled labor.
Yeah.
Well, the checkering on the stock on a Western Classic or
cut out there a little bit.
Yeah, we've got a little break in the audio, unfortunately, on their end. Hopefully that'll pick back up again.
Yeah. Well, one thing I kind of wanted to touch on with that is, for us, is when someone comes in and actually wants to sit down and build one of these rifles, it is like the highlight of my year, or better if we get to do a couple of them. When you can sit down and go through the options, and then 12 months later, when the gun actually comes in, or 12 to 16 months, it's like a Christmas for the consumer.
It is.
Yeah. Yes.
It is. It's a ton of fun building rifles with customers and talking about options and upgrades and sending them pictures of, hey, we can do this, we can do that. Guys get really excited about that. And some of them are like, yeah, I get it. It's going to take a year to get this gun, but
all the way down to the stock blanks too.
Yeah.
That's people don't, when you go on, look at Cooper and you see these beautiful rifles. When you get to this level, usually you have the opportunity to look at 2 or 3, sometimes even more blanks, potentially. And even customer supplied wood at some points.
Yeah, supplied wood is a pretty popular thing. Obviously we don't carry everything that everybody, somebody's going to want. So there are options. Guys can go, there's plenty of other wood blank suppliers out there, and guys can find, and sometimes guys have had wood blanks for years that were gifted to them, and it's a very sentimental piece of wood, and they want a gun like this built, and we can do it for them.
Really cool. I got another question for you. Does barrel break-in really do anything in this day and age?
It doesn't hurt, but I own a bunch of Cooper rifles, and I've never actually bothered to break one in, for whatever that's worth to you. But that being said, it doesn't do any harm to do it. Me personally, I run a few patches through to make sure everything's clean and get the oil out of them, and any residue left over from test firing, and I go have at it. But I get a lot of questions about break-in, and a lot of guys are like, well, this is what you recommend in the manual, but this is how my dad taught me to do it, or my grandma. Go for it.
Yep.
Realistically speaking, there's 100 different ways to do it. Basically, none of them are wrong. None of them can do any harm. But is it absolutely necessary? No, not really.
No. Not with today's materials and the way that our barrels are manufactured. They're all lapped in house. The gun's been shot. I mean, basically what I tell guys, I mean, the rifle's ready to go.
Yeah.
Out of the box. It's ready to roll. It's like Glenn said, it's not necessary, but you're not going to hurt anything by doing it.
Yeah.
The Wilson Arms barrels that we use are pre-lap. Basically, what breaking a barrel in does is you're essentially loosely basically fire lapping a barrel. What you're doing is removing little burrs and little sharp edges, things of that nature. And there are a lot of rifles where that does yield benefit, but honestly, they lap the bejesus out of these barrels. The inside of these bores through a Hawkeye bore scope are nice and bright and shiny and smooth and polished. It's not going to hurt anything, but I wouldn't make a big deal out of it.
Most of it's peace of mind.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other categories, and I know I've got some on order coming this year. I don't have any right now, but I'm shocked at the amount of rimfires that you guys actually build.
Yeah.
It's I'll again ask Brandon kind of, what should I stock? What should I order? And, I'm always amazed when someone, you need to have a $3,000 wood rifle.
I was going to mention that when you asked me what the big sellers were, I got sidetracked or distracted, but I was actually going to mention the rimfires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Glenn, I think you'd agree. When we've got a $5,000, $7,000 rifle leaving the shop, the chances of it being a rimfire are greater than anything.
You're not lying.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And what in rimfire as a whole, I mean, obviously 22 is kind of the, what's the strong second?
17 HMR.
Yeah, I would say 17.
Okay. And what's your, I think varmint hunting and predator hunting is kind of growing nationwide. It's people are enjoying this long range game and being able to take it into the hunting. And I think that the predator hunt of it is where a lot of those people are going with it. And prairie dogs, what would you say is your caliber or rifle that you recommend?
Well, the 22-250 is the gold standard of varmint hunting. It is the varmint cartridge by which all others are judged. And of course we offer that, and we offer it. A lot of varmint hunters like single shot rifles, and we offer the model 22, and you can get that in 22-250. Honestly, the 220 Swift is a classic that still has a somewhat strong following. Those are easily the two most popular. Now there's others as well, but I'll tell you, I've seen a resurgence in the shop on service work of older model 22 rifles in 22-250 or 220 Swift, and we're rebarreling those to 22-250 and 22-250 Ackley improved with fast twist barrels and threaded muzzles, which is kind of an interesting thing. That's something that's picked up in the last year or so, kind of neat. Yeah. As far as the rimfire rifles go, the 22 long rifle is king, followed by the 17 HMR. We also do the 22 Magnum, but the most popular version is the Jackson Squirrel rifle. Now this one's left-handed, so you have the bolts on the wrong side. But for that being said, we offer left-handed just about anything. Questions about that, just hit Brandon up. And if you're a lefty and you're tired of shooting right-handed guns, well, you don't have
to. Yeah, we can probably make it happen for you.
Yeah. Which has been another great thing for us is not everybody's doing left-handed and all the calibers, and
right.
I wanted to touch on the varmint thing real quick. We've got a Jackson Hunter here, 223 with a custom twist on this one.
Yeah. 1-9 twist.
Yeah. Which, and this rifle here, for us, 223 Remington, is locally kind of the hot cartridge for us.
Right.
So this is a rifle at our shop right now that if someone was looking for just an awesome varmint and versatile target gun, this would be a great candidate.
It is.
So, and barrel on that too.
It's a pleasure to shoot. And like Glenn mentioned earlier, when we were talking about popular cartridges, I mean, the 223, I mean, you can walk into any gun shop and there's a plethora of good quality match grade 223 ammunition.
Yeah.
It all shoots really well.
Yeah. And I would say historically with you guys, the Model 54 Excalibur, these three on the left here have kind of been my, what was that?
One of my favorite rifles.
Yeah, it's probably been one of our best sellers, which is why I generally stock a handful of those in different colors and configurations. And for us, I mean, that gun is so versatile, lightweight,
handy,
easy to shoot. Yeah, handy. Great way to describe it.
And anybody can handle that rifle and be very comfortable with it. I mean, you can have a big guy handle the gun and he's comfortable with it. His wife can handle it. Kids can handle that gun, and it's very comfortable to shoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you what, I think a Model 54 with a shortened length of pull is one of the best starter rifles for a youth that I could possibly imagine.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Brandon,
What's that?
what's next? Mark, you got anything for us?
No, I don't have any new questions right now. I'm like, tell me a little bit more about the lefty thing. How does that affect lead times for our customers and clients?
It's about the same. I mean, I understand, like, nobody wants to stock a left-handed gun because it takes somebody very specific to come in and buy it.
Mhm.
So you're looking at a standard lead time on, if a guy wants a model 92 backcountry left-handed, just for us to pull the bolt on the other side, it's an 8 to 10 month, waiting period, just like a guy that's right-handed would need one.
Yeah.
Need to wait for one.
Yeah. One of the other categories that I think, that I never thought we do so well with is your muzzle loaders. I get one of those in and I sell it instantly, almost every time.
Yeah.
And then I kind of went, well, why? And then I bought one myself. When I was able to shoot a muzzleloader and feel comfortable, the gun was more capable than I was. And I had a hunt planned in Kansas and, and they said, be ready for 200 yards. And, I was able to shoot mine at all of 30, which was not as awesome as what I wanted to do. It's always nice to have them close, but the muzzle loaders, they're such a refined, and I don't have one here, but the ML22, right? Is that the model?
Yep. Model 22 ML.
Yeah. And it's just a phenomenal platform.
It is. Yeah. And Glenn is the muzzle loading guy, as far as a fiend for the stuff. So Glenn, go ahead and elaborate on that muzzle loader for us.
Well, basically what we did was we took the Model 22 action the big single shot center fire action that we were just talking about that makes such a great varmint rifle. It's also popular with bench rest guys for the same matter. And literally all we did was take that action and turn it into a muzzleloader. I mean, it's people are like, well, why on earth would you use a single shot precision bench rest type, action for a muzzleloader? Well, my answer is, well, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it works out wonderfully well. And
yes,
oh, go ahead, Brandon.
I was just going to say, because you were already starting to allude to it, Glenn, it's one of those things. If you're some of these states, you can only use a shotgun or a muzzleloader to hunt. And it's like, if you're limited by what you can legally use, why not try to have the best, in that product category? And that's what I genuinely believe that we provide is one of the best muzzleloaders on the market.
Yeah. And use it for multiple disciplines.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've been really impressed. And we've sold a few of the 45 cals, mostly 50 cals. And I know I've got a couple coming this year yet. But what's your take on that 45, 50 cal debate between the two of them?
Well, I got to tell you, 50 is obviously the most popular due to the availability of projectiles. The way I look at it is for most hunting applications and for guys who are not going to get hardcore into it, the 50 is probably the best option. But if you're going to get hardcore into it, like you really want to push the envelope of performance, the 45 is probably the way to go, but it's not quite as plug and play if you want that top level of performance. The reason I say that, now we're talking about 45 and 50, well, they shoot the same projectile. It's the same bullet. The difference is the 45 is shooting it without the sabot. It's a non-saboted round. Sabot, where are you from? But the thing about it is so you have this 45 caliber projectile with the plastic sabot in the 50. Well, in the 45, you're shooting it bare bullet. Now you have to take that projectile and you run it through like a Hankins precision, die that swages it down 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch. And basically what it does is you then load it very easily. It rides the lands of the barrel. They call them land riders. It loads very, very easily. But when you fire it, it obturates, fills that rifling. Now, here's the advantage to the 45 and the 50. They're shooting the same projectile. The advantage is not having the sabot. Well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because if you want to push the envelope as far as the performance and how much powder you're going to use, say you want to run, a full charge of Blackhorn 209 or something like that, you can only push that plastic sabot so hard before it doesn't survive the journey down the barrel, and that affects performance. Running a bare bullet, you can run that sucker to the gills, and you don't have to deal with the plastic, basically.
Right.
The other thing is heat. Now, when you think of hot barrels affecting performance, you don't usually think of muzzleloaders, slow rate of fire. Problem with muzzleloaders, it doesn't take much heat at all. Very little heat, and I'm talking hardly any, barely warmed, but that's enough heat, especially down inside that barrel, that it begins to soften the plastic. It doesn't
Right.
take much heat to make plastic soft, much less than a hot centerfire barrel. But once that plastic is soft, it doesn't grip the rifling as well, and your consistency suffers, which is why, like, whenever I'm in our test tunnel and I'm shooting muzzle loaders for accuracy, it's time consuming, not because of the loading, but because I make absolutely 100% sure that that barrel is dead air temperature before I fire my next shot, because I don't want to spend all day in there to, getting the best group that I can get. Like I have stuff to do, and I want the customer to have the best target that they can have, and I want them to have the most realistic idea of what their rifle's going to do.
Yep.
And that is so for people who want to push the envelope as far as range, performance, things of that nature, and they want to buy the die, and they want to experiment with changing the diameter of their bullets by as little as 1/1000th of an inch. These are the guys. I would say the model, we have an open country, a long range version, just like we do on the Model 52. We have that stock for the muzzleloader.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, you get an M22 ML open country, and you put a Ken Farrell pick rail on that thing, and you can get them with the angle, 10 or 20 MOA of angle on it, and you run that fast twist 45, and you can use like cutting edge Maximus bullets, things of that nature. The Parker Ballistic Extreme and Parker Productions has some newer bullets out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, that's really where pushing the envelope, that's where the 45 comes into play. Yep. Now, if you get a 45 and you're not into pushing the envelope, well, you can get, 358 and 40 caliber projectiles, and you can go with a Sabo in those and run it just like a smaller version of a 50. But the real advantage to the 45 is running those 45 caliber projectiles with no plastic. And, that's where you get the advantage out of that. But for most folks, the 50 is probably where it's at.
Yep.
Yeah. And legal in most states.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those of you who've been watching us for the last half hour, I just wanted to thank you for checking in with us and just kind of reintroduce everybody. Jason with Arnzen here. And we've got Brandon Bowe with Cooper Firearms out of Montana here with us, and Glenn May out in Montana checking in with us. So if people have questions or want to ask any of the intricacies that go along with Cooper and what they're capable of in building their custom rifles, or about any of the ones we have in stock here at the shop, we're certainly here to answer them. We're looking forward to talking with you if you have questions.
Yeah, really great, and also 10% off the guns we have in stock right now, which is kind of unheard of. So thank you, by the way, Brandon, for making that happen for us.
Absolutely.
Hey, I have a question too, just to go. I don't know much about the history of the company. Like, how did this come together? Like, what was the founding of it? What does it look like? What's the last? Have you been 10 years, I believe, or something?
No, we've been in business since 1990.
Good grief! All right.
So it's been a little while.
Cool.
Dan Cooper came from Kimber of Oregon in 1990, and they decided they wanted to build the best bolt action rifles at an affordable price. That was the goal, and they achieved that. And obviously that's what we've turned into today. Is single shot, small caliber rifles with wood stocks. That's how we started out. We did that for many, many years. We still do it, but the product has obviously changed, pretty extensively over the last few years. Just changing with the times, as far as lightweight synthetics, long range guns. That's what everybody wants now.
Yeah, I think wood's going to make a comeback. I think industry is going to trend towards it at some point, or at least I'm going to push it to.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
All right, we got another question. Well, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
Little neat piece of history. One of the things that the company got its start on was competition rimfire rifles. Mr. Cooper had his fantasy of getting a rifle in the Olympics. He made it to the Junior Olympics, didn't quite make it to the full-blown Olympics, but this was one of the rifles that, it's a single shot 22 long rifle competition gun. But this is one of the guns that's representative of what made it to the Junior Olympics in whatever year that was. And then you can see it's pretty racy. But it's just a little piece of history.
Yep, nostalgic.
That's very cool. We got another question about favorite calibers. So I'm going to reframe this a little bit and say we got three bolt gun enthusiasts here.
Yeah.
You could only pick one caliber. What do you pick?
Well, I'm a 7 rem mag. That would be my go-to cartridge. It's certainly not what we sell the most of, but it is my preference.
I got to go with 300 Win Mag. I mean, we probably sell so many of them because I push it on anybody that asks me. Anybody that asks me, what would you do? It's like, well, I've got a 300 Win Mag, and then I go into, because I think it's one of the most versatile cartridges in North America. You can run lightweight 150, 165 grain bullets for whitetail. You can run a 200 grain bullet for moose, elk, deer, larger game.
Well, I think nowadays everybody just wants to run the 200 for everything, which that seems to be the big trend now. I personally don't get. I like the 30 cal for the reason that Brandon just stated. 150s, for whitetail and antelope. 165s for mule deer. 180s for elk. 200s for anything bigger. 220s. Yep. But the big trend today seems to be to just run those big, long, heavy bullets for basically everything. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think at the shorter ranges, the game is actually shot. They are effective, but maybe give up a little as far as effect on game than some of the lighter for caliber bullets. But once the distances stretch, they're the only way to fly, and that's what it is. Like if you stretch it, then that's how you need to roll with it. My choice would be probably 30-06. If I was going to be.
Yeah, it almost saddens me the amount of market share that's been taken away from just the 308 Winchester, and what a capable cartridge that is. I mean, it's people, that 6.5 Creedmoor train's awesome if you want to get on it, but it's amazing to me what the 308. I don't want to say it's a thing of the past, but for me, it's such a versatile cartridge too.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all. It's extremely versatile, but it is amazing at how few rifles in 308 we sell now. Yeah. The Model 54s are short action, repeating actions. The only thing that keeps that action alive is the 6.5 Creedmoor. Yeah. I mean, we sell some 308s, but I mean, it's by far 6.5. It's a pleasure to shoot. The ammo is pretty affordable. And I think that's exactly
I'm an unabashed and very open fan of the 308 Winchester for a short action rifle. And a lot of the hype of the Creedmoor amuses me. But generally speaking, anything the 308 does, the Creedmoor will do it and probably do it easier. But I will say this: I get a lot of phone calls. It's like, well, I'm a long range elk hunter. I'm looking for a rifle. I'm thinking 28 Nosler. I'm thinking 300 Remington Ultra Magnum, 6.5 Creedmoor. What should I get? And the first thing I tell them is, well, just take the Creedmoor. Just not even part of that discussion.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. But the hype, and it is a marvelous cartridge. It does bring a lot to the table ballistically. It does all these wonderful things. It is not a long range elk gun.
Right.
It's just not. It just doesn't pack them up. I ask people, would you shoot it with a 260 Remington? Well, no, that's a kid's gun, or that's my wife's gun.
Yeah.
Well, then don't shoot it with a Creedmoor, because there's really no difference as far as ballistic performance. If you wouldn't shoot it with a 260 Remington or a 7mm 08 or a 308 Winchester, don't shoot it with a Creedmoor.
Yeah.
But that's a little tidbit I wanted to throw out there.
Well, and I think so now we've got the 6.5 PRC coming out, and that just kind of covers that middle ground. So everybody wants 6.5mm diameter bullets, but now they're going to be able to get it with somewhat Magnum performance.
Yep.
And that's what that 6.5 PRC is going to do. I mean, you're pushing that bullet 250 feet per second or faster than the 6.5 Creedmoor. It's going to kind of fill that middle ground.
The PRC can legitimately achieve the velocities that most people that own 6.5 by 284s think they can.
Right.
That's kind of how I look at it. I think it is a worthy successor to the 6.5 by 284 Norma.
Absolutely.
That's how I view it, and I think that's a good thing.
And since the 6.5 PRC is kind of the latest and greatest and proven to be awesome and going to be awesome, what actions and rifles? Let's kind of talk the synthetic stuff right now.
Yeah,
is that going to be available in?
Well, for sure, our Model 92 backcountry. That was our number one goal. Was okay. We're getting so many requests for the 6.5 PRC. Well, we have to do it on our most popular rifle. Mm-hmm. So the Model 92 backcountry was what we wanted to. We wanted to make sure that worked first. And then from there, any rifle that's available in the Model 52. So that's your Timberline. That's your open country long range lightweight. Excalibur, Jackson Hunter, and then you get into all of our wood stocks, like the Custom Classic, Western Classic, really any Model 52 that we offer, the 6.5 PRC is available in.
Okay. So Glenn, which one do you have in your hands there?
Oh, it's just my prop.
Oh, okay.
What I've got here is a Model 52 open country long range lightweight. I know that's a mouthful, but it's a very, very apt description. Basically, we take the Model 52 open country, the long range is what we kind of call it in house. And what is typically about a 9-pound rifle.
Yeah.
It's a heavy barrel precision type rifle. You can expect to have some weight. But we take that and we knock about 2+ pounds off of it. And how we do that, obviously the carbon fiber wrap barrel is a big obvious thing. It's a proof research barrel. They shoot fine. Very happy with them. And so that knocks a significant amount of weight off. That's kind of an obvious thing. But the other thing that we do is the Ken Farrell Industries Picatinny rail that's on these, that steel rail weighs almost half a pound. Not almost, it weighs half a pound. But they also offer them in alloy and at about half the weight. So we switch to the alloy rail. The other thing we do is the bolt assembly on these guns. While it may not be much, ounces make pounds, but it's the bolt assembly out of a backcountry rifle.
Yep.
All right. So there's one of the weight savings there. And then while it is dimensionally a larger stock than the Model 92 backcountry, however, when you make a synthetic stock, there's a recipe, there's fills and resins and all this, that go into these things. And there's recipes. All right. Well, they make these lightweights out of the same, even though it's a bigger stock, they make it with the same recipe that they make the backcountry stock out of. So there's actually a little bit of weight savings in the stock as well. And I'll tell you what, these things come in at maybe 7 pounds.
7 pounds. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's ridiculously light for this kind of, this is a big gun and I practically have to tie a rock to it to keep it from floating away.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, I think this is probably one of the most versatile rifles, if not the most versatile rifle that we offer. I mean, you get all of the advantages of a heavy, rigid, long-range precision type rifle. I'm talking legitimate bench rest competition quality accuracy, out of a rifle that weighs 7 pounds.
Yes, it's a quarter weight rifle.
Forget about it while you're carrying it.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm not an easy guy to impress, and they impress me.
One of the things I'm kind of amazed we've gone this long without touching on is your actions and kind of what sets them apart from everybody else.
Well, they're all proprietary.
Yeah. They are proprietary. It's not based off of anybody else's design. It's our own design in-house. We get guys all the time that ask, hey, is your guys' a Remington Model 700? Is it a Winchester Model 70? Well, no. It's a Cooper Firearms designed action that's built in-house. You can't find parts for it because it's all built by us. You can't find aftermarket stocks or anything like that for it because it's our own proprietary design. We use a 3-lug bolt, Seiko style extractor. It's just a super smooth operating bolt, locks up real nice. Glenn could probably talk, more about the actual manufacturing process and the metallurgy that we use, which is obviously, why the guns perform the way they do. It's mainly due with those tolerances and the quality of materials.
Yeah, and they do have a totally different feel than a lot of other guns, a little bit lower bolt throw. I mean, I've been always impressed with them. So. Yeah,
bolt throw might be 60 degrees. It's certainly no more.
Yeah, it's
typical of a 3-lug design.
So, I mean, we talked about, actions and, rail options and stuff. And you mentioned Ken Farrell quite often. And I don't think I order that many rifles with that configuration.
Well, anybody that orders an open country lightweight, it comes with that rail standard.
Yeah.
It comes automatically with that because that's how we're able to get the weight down. And they've just done it the best for us as far as tolerances go. Ken Farrell's been a great company to work with.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Mark, do we got any other questions coming in here?
Yeah. So throwing it back to the old 308-65 Creedmoor, you've got a couple of rifles that also have ponies on the receiver. So the Colt guns is 2012. Just curious, how did that come about? What's the story behind that?
Yeah,
that
Glenn's
rifle?
got one too.
Oh, Brandon's got one too. Look at that, matching props. I'll put mine back then.
Can you kind of give us the history? I mean, we've sold a few of these, and
sure.
And I think 50% of our staff or better shoots one.
A whole bunch of you guys have one.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I am a legitimate fan of the Colt 2012. Colt wanted to get into the bolt action rifle market. Some other manufacturers let them down. We came through and delivered. We did it in basically, and obviously it was in 2012, hence the model name. They were pretty particular about what they wanted. For example, most of them are 308s. There are some Creedmoors out there that came a little later, but most are 308s. But there's 3 different versions. You've got this really, really large, heavy chassis-mounted rifle. And, that was on the cover of Shooting Times magazine back in 2012. big feature they did on it.
Mhm.
And so that was that version with the chassis. The other version that we did was in the Manners composite stock, was basically the same barreled action that's in the chassis, but obviously in a Manners composite stock instead of the chassis. Now, if you own one or the other of those, say you own the Manners and you want to put it in the chassis, that's not going to work. They are technically different receivers. The tang of the action had to be shaped different to fit in the chassis. But other than that difference in the tang, here's a chassis gun, by the way.
Yep.
The Colt Model 2012 CLR is the name of the chassis gun. All right. And then, of course, there's the Manners version. And then there's the laminate version that Brandon is holding. That's my favorite. I call that practical, tactical, whatever you want to call it, but that is a do-anything gun.
It is.
That gun, you could go to some sort of match or a running gun, one of those grassroots, team sniper type matches. That gun would fit right in. You could show up at your great granddad's hunting camp with that, and it would still fit in. It wouldn't look out of place. I think that is just a fantastic do-it-all rifle. I really like them.
Yeah. Do you have a Raptor there by chance, Glenn?
I do not. The Raptor is our version of, because obviously our deal with Colt expired and all that. My apologies for looking at the screen instead of the camera. But so our deal with Colt,
you look fine.
It ended, and the Raptor with the Manners version of that Colt was so popular that we wanted to continue that. And one of the ways that we did that, obviously it couldn't say Colt on it, but we basically made the exact same gun, but it doesn't say Colt on it. It says Cooper. There's just enough variations that Colt can't get upset with us. And this is a Colt. Now this is that Colt laminate, but that laminate stock is painted just like one of our synthetics. It's got a nice, what looks to be sniper gray Cerakote finish on it. It is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. Is this for sale? It is for sale. Call Brandon if you want it.
Yeah.
Gray Cerakote, 6.5 Creedmoor.
Got one right there.
Same gun, Glenn.
Now, once the Colt project, look at that, how convenient. Once the Colt project ended, now we had a little bit more freedom to do things. Like Colt specified a shorter barrel length. A lot of guys, especially in the Creedmoor, wanted a little longer barrel. Colt wasn't really okay with the Cerakote. We love it. Colt wasn't okay with painting stocks. We're just fine with it. And so, the original Timney trigger, are now replaced by Trigger Techs, which I think are wonderful. They use bearings, a frictionless, reducing bearing between the sear engagement with the trigger. I think Trigger Techs are great triggers. Love them. In any event, but the Raptor is basically the Cooper version of the Colt Manners Tactical, the CMT Colt called it. And because Colt is not in the picture on that gun, there's a variety of options. Like the Manners stocks were all just plain desert tan. We're painting them whatever color, we've got like 8 standard offerings or something like that.
Yep.
So you can get the stock painted, Cerakote finishes, different calibers. We did one that was featured in, was it Rifle or Hand Loader magazine a month or two back, that was chambered in 22-250.
Yep. And
so, Colt never would have let us do that. And so now that they're kind of out of the picture in that regard with the Raptor, we're able to do some really cool things. And like I said, they're a heavy rifle, but tell you what, you get that Raptor and you option for the carbon fiber wrapped barrel, suddenly it's a much handier rifle. The Model 54 Phoenix, the short action synthetic stocked, varmint type rifle, you can get that same carbon fiber wrap barrel on that to reduce weight. Matter of fact, I think one of Brandon's demo guns is one.
It is, yeah. It's a 6.5 Creedmoor. I think it weighs 6.9 pounds. It's awesome.
So, it looks good with that gray Cerakote and that snow camo paint scheme on that. Great rifle.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest difference, I think the Colt 2012 action you guys do is AI compatible, correct?
It is.
Yeah, and then the Raptor is going to be Cooper magazines, right?
No, the Raptor's got it.
No, they're AI as well.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
now the original Raptor was a very limited run some years back, right around the time, probably even before, was either right around or shortly before Colt, and they were laminate stocks with Cooper magazines, and we only did like 50 of them. But then that went away. But then once we decided to resurrect the Colt Manners Tactical without the Colt name on it, we brought the Raptor name back. But those are AI. They're mechanically speaking, they're a Colt Manners to include the AI mag.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a super impressive rifle for versatility. But, it's like I said, our staff has them. A lot of guys here shoot the 300 meter matches, and they absolutely love them. So if somebody's looking to get into a versatile gun, that the M2012 Cooper Colt, whatever we want to call it, what is the technical name for
I
it?
call the M2012 CLT.
Okay.
Colt Laminate Tactical is what we have the Colt Laminate Tactical, the Manners Tactical, and then the CLR was the chassis gun. I'm not sure what exactly that stood for. They never told me.
Okay.
But,
Gotcha.
yes, yeah. The CLR, the CMT, and then the CLT. But like Brandon, and maybe you guys are at Arnzen, that Colt Laminate Tactical, and I think we're still doing some of them. We have some stuff still to use up. Those, in my opinion, are one of the coolest guns that we've ever put together. Their only limitation, as I see it, is that they're restricted to short action only.
Right.
Cool. I always have one question I got to ask every company because you never know. Sometimes you get lucky. What's coming next?
Well, I mean, we've already let the big one out of the bag, and that's the PRC. That's the main thing. Now, as far as what's coming next, we're gonna try to get caught up on stuff that we've already got. Try to get that lead time down.
Yeah, that's one of our biggest things is just trying to become as efficient as possible and still maintain our accuracy, quality, and have that strict QC and reduce lead times. Once we can get those lead times reduced, then we'll start doing some cool new stuff. And we're working diligently, and we're getting a lot better at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing people buy additional magazines and all that kind of stuff. And, Brandon asked me one time, he's like, well, did you send in the gun for that? And is there fitting that's required? Because I've ordered additional magazines for multiple customers that over the years, and I've never had a customer have an issue with a magazine.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. We do our best to make that happen. The
Right.
AI magazines that are on like the Raptor, the Colts, the long action AI magazines that are an option on, say, timberlines or open countries, those are pretty trouble free.
Yeah.
Now the Cooper magazines are actually very cool. I'm just going to use this one as an example. Single stack, 3-round magazine. See how easy that just came out? That's how they are. Very, very simple, very unobtrusive magazine release. But this magazine is not a cheap magazine. It's not an inexpensive magazine. This magazine is stainless steel. This is all metal. As a matter of fact, the magazine body is made for us in Minnesota, of all places, where you guys are sitting. But the follower is machined out of stainless steel. The magazine body is stamped out of stainless steel there in Minnesota. The floor plate on these models are machined by us, out of 6061 T6 aluminum, aircraft grade aluminum. Now on high grades, they're steel so that they can be polished and blued and things of that nature, or on request if somebody just has to have steel. But this is an all metal magazine. Like there's nothing chintzy about this. All right. Nothing cheap, nothing inexpensive, no plastic. Now, the thing about that is there is a little bit of variation because it is a stamped magazine body, because we are machining parts. The magazine release button is machined here in house. We keep tolerance as tight as we can, but there can be a little variation. And what we try to do is through a what I would call a best practices type of thing that we do back in the shop, is that a raw magazine does need to be fit up to where it works in a rifle nice and well. But we have magazines on standby for when people want additional magazines. We try to keep a supply of them. So what we try to have is we have our best practices procedures going on back there in the shop with the assemblers. Well, those same assemblers are the same ones taking raw magazine parts and assembling the magazines that get shipped out to you or to customers or what have you. And so even though they're not necessarily fitting them to the rifle that they're going to be used in, they're fitting them they're assembling those raw magazine parts into a magazine in the exact same fashion as they would if they were putting it in a brand new gun they're putting together on their workbench. And so we do our absolute level best. And it's like you said, you've been selling them, haven't had any issues. That means what we're doing is obviously working. So do they require fitting? They can but usually not. In the odd case that we get something like that, we knock it out of the park and take care of the customer. But by and large, it's we do our best to where it's not an issue. And it's good to hear that it's been working as far as what you guys have going on.
Cool. We got just about 5 minutes before Instagram's going to boot us off. They've got that 1 hour limit. So I want to ask you one more question in, and then we can kind of wrap this up. If we want to keep chatting afterwards from Facebook, we can certainly do that. And I'll try to narrow the scope on this a little bit. It's a bad joke considering the question.
Right.
But looking for favorite scope magnification. So I think given the broad range of applications, let's just say kind of like the caliber question. If you could have one scope, one range, what would you look at? What would you do?
I tend to focus on the lower end variable more than the higher end variable. As long as the scope's capable of at least 10 for me, I'm happy. So it's, I live in Minnesota too. So, 99% of the shots I take are close range. But even being able to, find a target, is so much more important to me than being able to magnify. I find my shots are steadier, they're better placed.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but
No, I would definitely have to agree. It's all about versatility for me. So, I'm a 300 Win Mag guy because of the versatility. When it comes to a scope, I come from the same ideology here is to me, it's all about observation. If you can't see it, you can't shoot it. So I want the clearest glass in my scope. And I like, 3 power is probably about my minimum up to 18.
Yep.
And nothing more than that. I mean, anything above 18, you start to shake a little too much. And when you start seeing your heartbeat in the reticle at 25 power, I don't really like that.
And I would say it's so purpose driven too. So, I would say we're all kind of speaking from a hunting aspect,
right,
probably more than anything else versus bench shooting.
Right.
But Glenn, what's your take?
Well, I'll tell you what, the higher your magnification, the more it is going to magnify your errors. It's also going to be hard to find your animal. That being said, I'll tell you what, and I'm in no way endorsed by them at all, but I really, really like the Loophole VX3 4.5 by 14 by 40.
I totally thought you were going to say iron sights.
Yeah.
No, it's compact. It's light. I detest gigantic scopes on very light, handy rifles. Like
right.
I like a compact as far as external dimensions. I like it to be light. 14 is enough on the high end. Honestly, it could be a 10 and I'd be just as happy with it. But it does go up to 14. I don't want my front objective any bigger than 40. After that, it just gets to be, it's just too much for me and it's too top heavy. To be blunt, the way a rifle handles to me is just as important as how well it shoots. I spend a lot more time carrying it than I do shooting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That optic is going to make it heavy and ungainly and top heavy, and I don't want it.
Yeah.
So, that's for me, I think bang for your buck, that's really hard to beat. I'm kind of surprised Brandon didn't throw out a Swarovski plug.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there is that one that they do. You recommended for the backcountries. I really like that scope.
Yeah, it's that Z5 3.5
Yes,
Max 44. Yeah, that's the best.
like
that's one of the best. That's probably the most valuable hunting scope on the market right now.
Yeah,
It's a lot of scope.
I would say that's probably more likely than not the most common scope that ends up on one of your rifles when it leaves our store. It's just it's a incredibly versatile package capable of doing pretty much anything anybody could want to do with one of your rifles.
With one of our rifles,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a disservice to the rifle if you don't put a good scope on it.
Yeah.
So you can't see.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we got to wrap it up here pretty quick. But Glenn, I really want to thank you for checking in with us. Brandon for coming over. It's been fun talking with you guys.
Yeah.
We do have that sale going on here through Monday, 10% off all in-stock Coopers. So if people want to call in while we're still open here or buy them online, they're certainly welcome to do so. Thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See you, Brandon.
Yep.